everyone! My name is Marissa and welcome to America Reads Fun Learning Activities. Our fun activities focus on topics such as science, history, health, and even art. To start, let's guess what we're going to learn about today by learning some new vocabulary words. Our first vocabulary word is geology, and geology is a science that deals with the history of the earth and its life, especially as recorded in rocks. Our next vocabulary word today is density, and density means the amount of mass or the amount of matter per unit of volume. That may sound a little confusing at first, but all that means is that if something has a high density, it means everything is really tightly packed together. For example, if you were to have a backpack, oh wait, look, we have one right here. So if you were to have a backpack and you packed it with a lot of things, then look, you wouldn't even be able to close your backpack because it is so tightly packed. And that means this backpack would have a high density. But if we were to take a couple of these things out, then the backpack would not be as tightly packed. We would even be able to close it. And that means this backpack would then have a low density. Our next vocabulary word today is luster, and luster means the quality and intensity of light that is reflected from the surface of a mineral. Our last vocabulary word for today is geode, and a geode is a stone that has hollow space inside that is lined with crystal or mineral matter. Did you guess what we are going to learn about today? That's right. Today we're going to have lots of fun and learn about crystals and minerals. Today we have Rachel and Bianca to help us with today's learning. Let's go see Rachel and their amazing activity.
Hello everyone! Great job learning those vocabulary words. Now, have you ever gone outside and picked up a rock and decided to keep it? Have you ever collected any rocks? I see! For me, I am a big rock collector. I would always love to go outside and find rocks and collect them. Rocks can tell us a lot about the history of our Earth. Rocks can contain fossils, which are plants or animals that are preserved in a substance for possibly millions of years. These could be dinosaur bones or the imprint of a leaf in mud. Rocks can also help us to figure out what happened to land millions or even billions of years ago. By looking at rocks, you can try to piece together, like a puzzle, the history of the Earth. Isn't that amazing? I thought so too. Now, for today's activity, we will be our own geologists, and we will be learning how to identify rocks by looking at hand sample properties. What are those? They're just when you have a rock in your hand, the different techniques that you can use to figure out what that rock is just by looking at it in your hand. Now, go outside and find a rock for this activity. And while you do that, I will take you on an adventure to different famous geological formations around the world. Let's go!
And here we are on our first spot, which is the Grand Canyon in Arizona, United States. This canyon was formed by the Colorado River that would pick up large boulders and lots of debris that would break away at the bottom of the riverbed, forming this winding canyon that is nearly 10 miles long. Now let's travel to our next location. And here we are at El Capitan in California within Yosemite Park. Now this is a big rock that is very tall. It is all made out of granite, and was formed by volcanic activity millions of years ago. It's a popular spot for rock climbing due to its granite, which is very hard and coarse-grained. Coarse-grained meaning that it's got a rough texture and has some large crystals here and there. Now, let's continue on to our next location. And here we are in Australia at Uluru Rock. This rock is important to the native people of Australia, known as the Aboriginal people. This rock is also known as Ayers Rock. Now let's travel again across the world to our final location. And here we are at the Rainbow Mountains found in Zhangyi National Park within China. These mountains are extremely colorful and are made out of red sandstone that has been eroded. What does erosion or eroded mean? Well, it's when the wind and water, such as rain, come down on the rocks and cause them to break apart in very small pieces. This is known as erosion, the weathering or breaking down of rocks. Now, the different colors in these rocks come from different minerals, such as iron, and give these rocks their color. Great job on this adventure! Now, do you have your own rock for our activity? Amazing! Then let's go and try to identify that rock.
And so, here is the rock that I found. First, look at your rock. What color is it? Is it orange? Is it green? Is it blue? Is it brown? Now your rock may be more than one color. When I look at my rock, I see a light orange, maybe a little bit of white, and a few spots that are a bit of a darker orange, like here. Color is useful in identifying rocks, although it can be very hard to tell what your rock is just by looking at its color, since a single mineral could have multiple colors that it could form in. Now, let's move on to the next geological hand sample technique. Let's look at hardness. Hardness is how hard your rock is. For this part, we are going to use common items of known hardnesses, such as your fingernail. There is a scale known as the Mohs hardness scale. On this scale, your fingernail is a 2. A penny is a 3 on that scale, so slightly harder than your fingernail. And if you happen to have an iron nail, this is a 4 or a 5 on the hardness scale, depending on the type of nail that you have. If you can, gather these items to test the hardness of your rock. And so, the first test I'm going to do is to try and scratch this rock with my fingernail. So here we go. I'll find a nice spot, and we're looking to see if I can scratch this with my fingernail, which I don't see any scratches there. So nothing there with that. So this was a very soft item. So let's look at something a bit harder, like a nail. I'm gonna try the same thing again and see if I can scratch. Aha! Look at that. Do you see the white marks that were made on the rock? So this nail is able to scratch this rock. And a nail is around a 4 or a 5 on the hardness scale, which means that this rock has to be softer than this nail. So it has to be under a 4 or a 5. but my nail wasn't able to scratch this item, and so it has to be greater than a 2, since a fingernail is only a 2 on the scale. Next we have a penny, which is a 3. Let's see if this penny can scratch this rock. So I'll sort of wipe the surface clean, and let's try to scratch. Aha! Do you see this white marking here? Let's do it again. So we can see these white lines here, which means that the penny was able to scratch the rock. Although I had to press down pretty hard to get a good scratch. So this rock is most likely around a 3 on the hardness scale. Now this is very helpful for me to identify this rock. At first I thought this rock might have been quartz, but quartz is a very strong mineral that is very hard and is around a 7 on the hardness scale, whereas this rock, as we discovered, is more around a 3. So now I'm not sure what this item is, but it's definitely not quartz. Let's look at a few other techniques to try and figure out what our rocks are. Next up, we are going to look at crystals to see the crystal shape on our rock. Now, your rock might not have noticeable or large crystals, although on this rock is full of crystals, as we can see these sort of shiny surfaces. Now, the shape of these is pretty kind of broken. Maybe I see some parts here that are sort of step-like, kind of like squares. This rock may have been broken into different pieces, and so we don't see a good image of what a crystal might look like on this rock. So overall, at least for this rock, the crystal shape isn't really helpful here. Other than that, there isn't really a clear shape for this rock. So now, let's look at the next item, which is known as luster. Luster is how shiny or reflective a rock is. So if you look at this spot right here in the light, watch as I tilt it, you can see how shiny the rock is. So it's sort of not reflecting light, and now it is reflecting light. Different spots on the rock do this, such as right there. And as I turn it, you can see how shiny the rock is. So this rock kind of looks like glass, almost how it reflects the light. So you could call this a glassy luster, or in geology terms, it's known as a vitreous luster. How shiny is your rock? Is it super duper shiny and looks almost metallic or metal-like? Then you might have a metallic luster. These can help you identify your rock. Now, I think I know what my rock is, but it's okay if you're having trouble identifying your own rock. It can be very difficult to identify rocks, especially since minerals come in many different colors, shapes, sizes, and that one mineral could look like very different things, even though it's the same mineral. So don't worry or stress if you are having trouble figuring out what you have. But for me, I'm thinking this might be a calcite rock, since it's got a hardness of around 3, and it's sort of got this sort of glassy sort of luster to it. Although I can't be 100% sure. What do you think your rock might be? Awesome! Now, amazing work with this activity and learning about the different ways you can identify rocks. Let's go to Bianca for her reflection. Great work today!
Hi everyone, it's Bianca, and wow, Rachel did such an amazing job with that activity. She kind of reminded me of a geologist, which is who we are going to be talking about today. So, does the word geologist remind you of anything? I don't know about you, but it reminds me of the word geology, which we mentioned way at the beginning of the video. But yeah, so geologists are basically the people who make a career out of studying geology. Isn't that pretty cool? So you can make a career by studying rocks, water, and soil. And we are going to be talking about those career options right now. Our first job that a geologist can do is an environmental consultant. And I know that is such a mouthful, but it is environmental consultant. And essentially what they do is they make sure that the people that they work with are respecting all of the environmental laws that they are. And they do this by collecting samples of water and soil, and they just make sure that no one is harming planet Earth, which I would say is pretty important because we really want to make sure that we take care of our planet, which is why it is super important that geologists take up this job. The second job that a geologist can do is they can become a paleontologist. And I know all of the words sound super crazy, but a paleontologist is someone who studies the fossils that are found on this earth, and they use those fossils to basically uncover the history of the earth, which I think is super cool. Our third job that a geologist can do is become a hydrogeologist, which is another mouthful. Imagine trying to say hydrogeologist 3 times. I don't think I can. But essentially what a hydrogeologist does is they just make sure that the groundwater is safe to drink, and they also look for different ways to protect our natural resources to make sure that soil, groundwater is not getting contaminated by any harmful toxins. Now that we have talked about a couple of different careers that a geologist can do, which of these sounds like the most fun to you? I can totally agree with that. For me, becoming a paleontologist sounds like the most fun because imagine all of the secrets of history that you can uncover by digging up some fossils. Thank you for learning with us today. We had so much fun. We hope you come back and learn some more. Please like and subscribe and hit that bell button to see when we upload our next video. We'll go ahead and see you next time. Bye!